So the first one here is a circle prospecting script. This is as basic as it gets, right? If I was to hire a new ISA, this is where I would start them before they start calling expireds and stuff. This is pretty easy. I'm not going to have them burning a bunch of leads that are potentially valuable as they're kind of getting, their feet underneath them. So this is calling into neighborhoods, farming neighborhoods, right? Typically the way that we do it is we'll target neighborhoods that have a turnover rate of 7-8% or more, right? We know there's a certain amount of transactions that take place in that area, and if we could just get a certain amount of market share, that makes enough sense for us to target and make calls into these neighborhoods. Also, it could just be an area that you want to become an expert in because it's an area that's growing or there's a lot of demand in. You want to create some brand awareness of your team or you in an area. So you can pick that area, subdivision, zip code, whatever it is, and start calling into it. So this is a really easy call. Hey, my name is Jeff. I'm a real estate professional in the area. Hope you're having a great day. The reason I'm calling today is there's been a lot of interest in your neighborhood, and I'm wondering who you know that might be thinking of making a move this year. Real simple, right? My name is Jeff. The reason I'm calling is I'm a real estate professional in your area. We've got a lot of interest actually in your neighborhood, and I was wondering who you know that might be looking to make a move in the next year or so. Probably, in most cases, they're going to say they don't know anybody. You can say real estate expert, absolutely. So when it's an ISA, I always talk about these from an ISA perspective because usually that's who's making the call in our case. Otherwise, if it was the agent making the call, absolutely. I'm a certified home selling advisor. I'm a real estate expert in your area. And the reason I'm calling those, we've got a lot of interest in your neighborhood, and I'm wondering who you know that might be thinking of making a move in the next year or so. I don't really know anybody. Well, that's okay. I appreciate you thinking about it for me. By the way, just out of curiosity, when do you plan on making your next move? Right? And these are really just cut and dry. I'm not trying to spend 10 or 15 minutes on this deal. This is a numbers game on the circle prospecting calls. Right? I know that I'll probably have to call 100 of these to get one opportunity. In some cases, I might not even get that. It really will all depend on how many people I can get on the phone. I could dial 100 numbers and only talk to 4 people. I'm not going to get a lot out of 4 people. Right? If I dial 100 numbers and I talk to 20 people, I'll get an opportunity there, for sure. Usually. 8, 10, there you go. Usually. But like 15 to 20 people, if you speak to 15 to 20 people, usually on average, that's about when you start running into a nurture. 15 to 20 people, depending on the lead source and all that stuff. But with expert data, which a lot of you have, the stuff that you'd be circle prospecting on, that's kind of what I would use as a benchmark. If I talk to 20 people, I should be expecting to get a nurture right about that time. So again, really easy. Our first introduction there is, hey, this is Jeff. I'm a real estate professional in your area. The reason I'm calling is we have a lot of interest in your neighborhood, and I was wondering who you know that might be thinking of making a move this year. I don't know anybody, Jeff. No problem. I appreciate you thinking about that for me. Just out of curiosity, when do you plan on making a move yourself? When do you think your next move would be? All right. There's a couple more questions you can ask just to try to uncover any unspoken motivation there. And you can kind of enter into that by saying, okay, how long have you been in the area by chance? Right? What brought you to the area? If you were to make a move, right, if you were to guess when your next move would be, when do you think that would be? Right, is there anything in your home that you don't have right now that you might consider if you purchase a home sometime down the road? Right, those kind of things. If you don't get anybody biting and expanding the conversation beyond that, then I'm gone, moving on to the next one. These calls really, even if it is a nurture, probably shouldn't be more than 3 to 5 minutes long. 3 to 5 minutes. I'm Jeff, real estate professional in your area. The reason I'm calling is we've got a lot of interest in your neighborhood. And so what I'm doing is reaching out to folks wondering who you know that might be looking to make a move in the next year or so. If you don't know anybody, that's fine. Since I've got you on the phone, how about yourself? When do you plan on making your next move? Okay, no problem. Hey, if you were to guess, when do you think your next move would be? No, I'm not getting anywhere. Okay, thanks. Have a great day. Hey, by the way, before I let you go, though, I do send out a market report once a month, and it helps to keep homeowners in the area informed about sales and so on. As a homeowner, would that be helpful to you? Great. What's a good email address? And I'll make sure you get those reports. That's the last ditch effort there. If I get, no, I don't know anybody, I don't have any plans to move, Jeff, no problem. You know, once a month I send out a monthly market report, keeps you informed about prices and stuff in the area. If you'll give me your email address, I'd be happy to share that with you. Now, at least we have them in our database. We can add them to our drip campaigns, right? If something ever changes, at least we've got them in our database. Make sense? Any questions on that?
Yeah, I'd say you'll mark something that lets us know these people on the drip campaign.
Yeah, so if you had an ISA like in our office calling for you, what happens is, so let's say this person says, yeah, I plan on making a move in 12 months or less. They meet the motivation, all that other stuff. Then as the ISA turns it into a nurture, they also add it to the nurture seller group, which we'll get in more to the groups in Money Tree on Thursday. But by adding them to the group, that triggers the automated touch plans and drip campaigns.
But if it's not a nurture,
if,
and they give us an email address.
So then there's a market watch. For instance, in our case, that's another group, and that has an on and off toggle switch. So if it's not a nurture, I wouldn't put them in the nurture seller group. I would just put them in market watch group and turn it on, and they'd get that market watch every month. Yep. So that's the circle prospecting. Again, that's you're going to build a lot of nurtures out of those calls because you're targeting neighborhoods where you know there's a certain turnover rate, right? It's going to be, if you're doing calls in your office, for instance, and you're prioritizing what to call when, circle prospecting would be the last, right, dials that you're making. You'd want to be calling your expireds before circle prospecting, your cancels, your for sale by owners, any home values, any inbound leads coming from radio, TV, or other sources that I have, right? And then once I've gone through all of that hot stuff, then I would go to circle prospecting. So the next one is just listed and just pended. So these get into what we call event-based data. There's actually just listed, just pended, just sold, and coming soon. So all of these reference properties that you're already working on, right? Or properties that you've sold, for instance, or just listed, hence the names. So in this case, it would be, hi Marco, this is Jeff. I'm calling you with Expert Advisors. You might have seen our for sale sign in the yard down the road at 123 Main Street. I'm calling homeowners in the neighborhood to let them know that we just put that home on the market. We expect a lot of interest in the home. You may see some people in the neighborhood, right, driving around. They're probably preparing to check out the property. We wanted to share the news about this listing with all the people in the area, just in case you had any friends, family, who was maybe looking to purchase a home in the area. Do you know anybody? Right, great. Do you have the name and the phone number? I'll reach out to that person and share information about the home. If they do know somebody, a lot of the times they're not going to know anybody, right? So then we bridge into the same thing that we would do on the circle prospect. And it's really just an elevated circle prospecting call. Instead of saying, hey, I'm just calling around the neighborhood because it's an area that's hot, we got a lot of demand, you know anybody looking to make a move? Instead of that, I'm able to go in with a little bit more juice by saying, hey, you might have seen our sign at 123 Main Street. You know, I'm calling everybody in the neighborhood. We just listed that property. We expect to see a lot of activity on it. If you see some folks driving around the neighborhood looking confused, they're probably coming to check out the property. You know, so I wanted to call the homeowners in the area just in case you had friends, family, anybody you know that might be looking to move into the area. Does anybody come to mind? No, you don't know anybody? No problem. Hey, by the way, since I've got you on the phone, do you plan on making any moves yourself in the next year or so? Right? The same place that we're going to go as if we were on the circle prospecting call. By chance, have you considered making a move in the next year? If they say no, then we go right to the market report. No problem. Hey, before I let you go, I have a market report I send out once a month to homeowners in the area. Helps keep you informed on the prices and sales and so on in your area. Would that be helpful for you? Great. What's an email address? Talk to you later. Right? Really, it's the juice. You got to nail that front end. We just listed a property at 123 Main Street. We expect to see a lot of people in your neighborhood coming to check out the property. So the reason I'm calling is I know folks in the area probably have friends, family that might be interested in buying a home there. Does anybody come to mind? No, you don't know anybody? Well, since I got you on the phone, do you plan on making any moves in the next year or so? No? Okay. Well, I have a market update I send out once a month that's helpful for homeowners. Keeps them informed on prices and sales and that sort of thing. What's a good email address? And I'll get you signed up for it. That's it, right? Pretty simple. But it's really knowing it, the rehearsing it, right? The role-playing it so that you can say it so it's natural. Like you can see I'm kind of like flexing it a little bit and changing it a little bit just to kind of be more natural. But that's because I know the foundation, right? And the skeleton, the framework of it. And so that's what you want to do. These scripts aren't meant for you to read word for word all the time like a robot. It's meant so that you have the words to create the framework. And then as you start to internalize this word for word, as you internalize it, you'll naturally kind of start changing some things to match your own personality and the way that you talk and so on. So you're not veering off script if you make it yours, but internalizing it and sticking to the script is important to get to the point to then where you can kind of make it yours. Right? If you don't have it memorized and you don't know it to begin with, then you can't really make it yours. So on the just pended, next level up, right? I like these ones better than the just listed, right? On the just listed ones, I mean, you might get me on the phone and I'd say, well, call me when you sell it, right? So the just pended and the just sold ones, when it comes to this kind of call, those are the two that I think are the most productive, right? We just took an offer on or we just sold this property. So just pended is, this is Jeff at Expert Advisors. You know, you may have seen our for sale sign in the yard at 123 Main Street. We just took an offer on that home after 15 days on the market. We had multiple buyers interested in the home, which is great news. We now have qualified buyers that missed out on that home but are still interested in the area, and I don't have any additional homes to show them. Do you happen to know anyone in the area who's thinking about making a move in the next year? Right? So we had all this buyer interest. That worked at getting an offer on this property. Unfortunately, these people are left without a property. They like the area, so I'm reaching out to everybody in the neighborhood to see maybe if they know somebody with plans to make a move.
So if we have these properties, can we send you the addresses and you pull up the list and have the ISA call?
Yeah, so in theory, yes. I don't handle the data, right, and everything, so I don't want to give unfair answers. But I know NAEA is trying to be able to provide a listing radius type of product. I don't know where they're at on that right now. So ask,
or maybe the phone numbers?
Ask whoever your rep is. Yeah, the problem is like whoever your coach is or something at NAEA, your contact. In your case, it'd be Keith. I'd ask Keith about it. But the problem is like money. I can't go in and. Like I want it to be, for these to be the most effective, it has to truly be the neighbors. It can't be like that 5 miles down the road, right? I can't just take the zip code or something. So you can search in Money Tree by subdivision. So that would be one way for us to do it.
As you know, a lot of, I don't know, it may not be the same in Dallas, but, you know, Cinco Ranch has 15 different sections. You know, these neighborhoods are called the same.
Right.
But unless you key in the section, you're going to get everything.
Right.
So
we have, NAEA I know is working on that product. I have, yeah, we get some of that. I'll tell you what I do. I don't know whether this is appropriate or not, but what I do to service that is I'll use a different source. Like for instance, Mojo, right? I keep just for almost that function alone, is I can pay a really small amount of money and be able to go into their data resource and put in an address that we sold and then draw a box around the neighborhood and pull the 85 homes that are next to it or the 35 homes that are next to it. And then I just export that and I put it into Money Tree and have an ISA call it. So until we get our product nailed down, that's what I'm doing in the meantime to get this data.
well, I can do that too.
So we get the phone numbers on the Mojo will give me the phone numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can go online and see all the phone numbers once I put it in.
And I know there's other platforms that do the same thing. You can draw the box.
When do you think that function will be available?
I don't know. If I gave you any different answer, I'd be misleading you. So I would love it for you guys to hasten the ball on that. Everybody should say, man, I really want that, move the ball, move the needle on that. I really want that listing radius data. Maybe they can.
I talked to Jay about it last
Okay.
week, and he said that it's something that they're working on religiously as well. So it's something that's in the works as far as that.
There you go. So in the meantime, I've told you what I'm doing, right, to work around that. Rand.
Should the agent be making the pending or just calls?
Not unless they have time to. I mean, yeah, the agent should be making as many phone calls as they can when they're not in front of people. But most of the time, it'll probably be an ISA that's doing that because you're going to be so busy with other things.
So in the meantime, could we just email you, hey, here's an address, here's a subdivision,
You could give me that. I mean, anybody that I'm calling for, I wouldn't have a problem right now. I'm going to preface that by saying there will come a time when I may not be able to devote the time to do that on a one-on-one basis. But right now, if you had a property that you knew had some juice behind it, meaning like we sold this property in 10 days and we sold it for $10,000 over ask, like that's got some juice and excitement behind it, I'd love to call or have our ISAs call around that property. So if you can send me that address, then I can use Mojo, my credentials in Mojo, and pull that data for you.
See, I had 2 listings in the same neighborhood with pools. One sold before I put it into MLS, and I had multiple offers. The other one, I just had 3 offers. I put it in the computer, had 2 open houses.
Perfect.
25 families came through. I had multiple offers, 3 offers. Another 2-story with a pool. I mean, this is within just around the corner. So I need to pull all those people.
Yep.
I need to send you that.
You give me that address, you get me the addresses that make sense based on that strategy, and we'll get them put into the calling queue.
I'll send you an email.
Cool? All right. That's good.
Because that, I mean, I've got people that are dying for that product because it's the best schools in the district. They want that price point and be in the best schools. Mm-hmm. For their overachieving babies.
So that's working smarter, not harder, right? Take those victories. Hey, she likes that one. So take those victories that we already have and like, how do we monopolize those? Now, better yet, now let me get a testimonial from that person and tag that on, right? So now I'm calling around that neighborhood using our sale as leverage. Then when I get somebody who's interested, I'm dropping the testimonial on them to even back it up even more. Man, if I don't get that opportunity, there's something wrong.
Somebody has stolen my sold sign on my sold rider on my sign twice. I'm sure it's just kids, but you know, that's annoying.
Yeah. And no one else is doing it, you know, really. So, and then also you become that neighborhood expert, right? Then over time, you've got 2 homes sold. Then with that kind of campaign, we get another 2 listings in that neighborhood. Pretty soon, we've sold 6 or 7 homes in that neighborhood, and we're really building the brand in that neighborhood, and nobody's going to go with anybody else in that neighborhood if we do our job, right? Anchoring that message the whole time. And because then we're calling back into that neighborhood with the, hey, your property just sold. We want to call and congratulate you. And we're making other calls into those neighborhoods, still building on that. All right, so after the just pended, the just sold, like we were just talking about, we want to really prioritize the ones where we have juice. Man, we sold it really quick. We sold it over ask price. Those are the things that are going to get somebody's attention, right? Like we were talking about, we've got them on the phone. We need an attention grabber. So being able to say that we just sold a property at 123 Main Street. By the way, do you know where that is? Yeah, I know where that's at. Well, you might have seen our sign in the yard. We just sold that property. We only had that on the market for 2 weeks. We sold it for $20,000 over ask. When staged right and priced right, homes in the area will sell super quick. Right? So we have a few qualified home buyers who missed out on that home, but they love the area. We don't have any additional inventory, so I'm reaching out to folks to see maybe if they know somebody looking to make a move in the next year or so. All right, this is all, once we get in the habit of saying these, the framework is kind of the same all the time. We're just changing that part at the top. Either we just took an offer on a property, we just sold a property in this amount of time and this amount over ask. If you didn't sell it over ask, then you just sold a property, right? Then I just don't use that as any kind of bullet point. Coming soon listing. This is really, it's good for the buyer's agents to make calls using this kind of script. We don't make a whole lot of those calls because 97% of the stuff we do is all seller oriented. Right? I think we've set 200 appointments or something this year for our brokerage, and what did I say, 200? So 180 of those were seller. So that's how little the buyer focus is for us, other than a lot of those sellers end up being buyers, right? But the coming soon listing, man, it's a great way to get your buyer's agents engaged, and it's a little bit softer call for them if they're not open to just cold calling. Same with the open house invite. That's a call. If you need to get them on the phone, get more engaged, they shouldn't have any problem making an open house invite call, right? That's just going to drive them more opportunity. Some of those people that come to the open house who don't buy that property, if they're doing their job, could be other potential prospects for them. So the expired script. In this one, everybody kind of gets a little scared when they see this because it's a lot of words on paper, right? It looks like some big, long thing. I would just say that what you don't see on the paper here is them giving you feedback back. Like it's a two-sided conversation, right? So looking at this, it's like, oh man, this thing goes on forever. But the monotony is broken up as you have somebody who's actually responding back. But this works really well. It differentiates you from every other agent pretty well. So the way that we do this is, hey, this is Jeff at Expert Advisors. Listen, I imagine you're getting a dozen calls right now, or you will be soon since your property just expired in the MLS. Are you getting those calls already? Usually they'll be like, yeah, I'm getting tons of them. I'm really sorry you're getting abused like that. I know it can be frustrating. I know the agents are probably telling you how great they are, promising you the world. They might even tell you they have a buyer for your home and they haven't even seen it yet. Have you heard some of those things? Well, yep, I have. Okay, well, just so you know, I'm not calling to list your home or sell you anything today. In fact, if you had just a few minutes, I'd like to talk to you about why you were selling the home originally. Right? And then we're just going to try to open up the conversation based around why they had it listed in the first place. A lot of times they're going to shut you down. These expired calls, this is where you will get people, screw off. You're the 21st person to call me. Don't ever call me again, blah, blah, blah. Anything you can imagine, right? You're going to get on these kind of calls because they are getting hounded in most cases. But for that one that is open that you get a chance to meet with, isn't that worth it? Right? Everybody here probably makes around $5,000 on average per sale or something. Who knows what your average sales price is? I just know here in Dallas it's like $250 is our average home price. But, I'll deal with 30 people telling me to go screw off for that one, right, to have that turnaround. So don't expect all these expireds just because at one point they were wanting to sell to be all nice and friendly because you're calling, right? They are going to be upset in a lot of cases. But if you stick to the script, you don't let them throw you off your game. If you get to the engagement point, which is really all we're trying to do when we get to why they were selling the home originally, or I'd like to talk to you guys about what you were trying to accomplish. If you get to that point and they're engaging with you, then you got a really good chance of them being a nurture, if not an appointment. So we're just trying to get to that point. Listen, I know you're getting tons of calls right now. Your property just expired on the MLS. If you're not getting a bunch of calls, you probably are going to start to get them. Are you getting them already? I'm sorry you're getting hounded like that. I know these agents are telling you probably everything, right? I've heard it all. Some people are probably talking about having buyers. They haven't seen your home yet. You've heard all that, haven't you? Yes, I have. Okay, well, I'm not calling to list your home today. If you had a few seconds, can you just tell me what you were trying to accomplish? Why were you selling the home originally? And let's open it up and see if we can get the people to talk. At this point, right, it's either going to go downhill or we're going to stay on the phone and have an opportunity at something. So that's where we're going to go. Let me ask you, why do you think the home didn't sell? Right? What kind of challenges do you think you ran into? And just being quiet and letting them express their frustration when it comes to that is really important. Right? And even letting it go silent for a second just to make sure that they've finished their thoughts. If there's anything else that they want to say, they have a chance to, that's a good mode to practice, right? If it gets a little quiet and they go, are you still there? You can just say, I wanted to make sure that you were finished and there wasn't anything else you wanted to say. Right? But leaving that silence and allowing them to share as much as they can or want to provides some really valuable information for you when it comes to how to win their trust and get the listing. Next question, after you say, why do you think the home didn't sell? What kind of challenges did you run into? Is there anything else I missed that you think might have kept it from selling? No? Okay, what about your agent? Were you happy with the agent? Is there anything that you didn't like? Right? And then other than it not selling, did it have any adverse effects on your family? Like did they lose earnest money on something? Was there a home that they wanted to potentially purchase that got sold to somebody else because their home wasn't going to sell in the time frame they needed to? Whatever it is, really to try to drum up, right, those pain factors so that we can provide a solution. So once we've got all of that, we've got a pretty good diagnosis on their experience, their last experience trying to sell the home. What their impression is on why they think the home didn't sell, whether it's right or wrong. This is their impression on why they think the home didn't sell. And then we can start leading the direction of the conversation by saying what I'm really surprised at is a lot of the times when we're speaking to folks like you, we hear a few things that you didn't mention. And maybe they don't apply to you, but some of the most common things that we hear expressed is that people are concerned with the seasonality, right? And how many maybe competing homes there are in the marketplace, for instance. Also, I hear all the time about people such as yourself who are frustrated with the false promises that agents give them when they originally meet, or they just don't get any response when they call to get a status update. Just lack of communication, really. We hear that a lot. Other things that we hear are folks being overwhelmed with having to keep the home ready all the time for showings, never quite knowing, when this whole thing is going to be resolved. They get frustrated with not having offers or unqualified lookers, the uncertainty of when it's all going to come together. Those are all things that we typically hear. Do any of those resonate with you? Well, yeah, a couple of those do. Great. And one thing we didn't mention is maximizing your home's value. I'm sure getting the most amount of money for the home is probably important to you, isn't it? Well, of course it is. Great. So I should add that to your list then, right? When it comes to the things that are important to you, getting the most amount of money is important, right? Great. We'll move that to your top of your list. So what's your plan now? Right? Now we'll give them the opportunity to kind of articulate what their thoughts are on moving forward. So have they considered selling it themselves? This is just a way to take that off the table. Right? Usually at this point, they probably would have tried that as a first route. But still, have you considered selling it yourself? No, we don't want to do that. Great. So then we'll start to ask, what did their agent do to try to sell the home? Did they have it professionally staged? Did they have it professionally photographed? Was it showcased online? Right? Today's first showing really happens online. So if you don't have a good presence online, that could be part of the reason maybe why you didn't have as many showings as you had expected. Were there floor plans available? Did they have a strategy to attract out-of-town buyers? That's one that we always get people to key in on. Oh, I don't know. I think an out-of-town buyer is probably the best person to buy the home. So that one always gets a reaction usually from people. So we're going to go through those things. Hopefully we get it. No, they didn't They didn't do any professional photography. They took pictures with their cell phone. Right? Maybe they'll say that. Something that gives us some ammo to go up against. So once we've been through all that, then we're going to transition to, can I make a recommendation? Well, sure, Jeff. What do you got? If I was in your shoes, here's what I would do. I would only work with a certified home selling advisor. Right? What that means is these individuals have been extensively trained in the 115 variables that affect the price at which your home will sell for, and in some cases will affect whether your home sells at all. Right? That's basically what we're getting at right there. And I reworded it a little bit, as you can see. Some of the stuff in here personally, I don't say all the time, like selling the process and the mismanagement or overlooking any one of these could have catastrophic financial consequences. That's not really how I talk, so I've changed that up a little bit. But the point we're trying to get across there is, number one, can I make a recommendation and you allow them to answer? Right? Can I make a recommendation? Yeah, go ahead. So if I was in your shoes, I would only work with a certified home selling advisor. Right? What that means is they've been extensively trained in the 115 variables that will affect how much money you get when it comes to selling your home. The mismanagement of any one of those things could affect the price your home sells for, and in some cases keep it from selling at all. Right? At our office, all of our agents are certified home selling advisors. Why don't we have one of our certified home selling advisors come out and meet with you, and one of three things is going to happen. So this little transition and this close right here is one that you'll want to memorize, and you can insert this one anywhere. Right? This is one of the things that I think people get a lot of use out of. When I do follow-up calls with people that have come to the boot camp, even the ISA boot camp, everybody always goes, oh, that 1 out of 3 thing. I use that all the time. Right? No matter what the lead is, it doesn't have to be an expired, but you can transition into this in any kind of call. So why don't we do this? We can have one of my certified home selling advisors meet with you, and one of 3 things is going to happen when we meet. We may not be able to help you, and if that's the case, we'll be upfront and let you know so as not to waste your time. You may not want to work with us, or you may not see the value in what we do, and if that's the case, that's fine also. Just let us know. We won't bother you anymore. Right? Or third, hopefully, you'll see the value and believe that we can help you. And if that's the case, just let us know. We'll spend a little bit more time to talk about how we would accomplish your goals. Fair enough? Right? It's kind of a reasonable man type of tonality close, reasonable woman type of tonality close. Like, no big deal. worst case scenario, one of three things will happen. You may want to work with us, you may not, right? Hopefully you'll see the value in what we do, and if that's the case, let us know. We'll spend all the time it takes for you to really understand what we're going to do. At the same time, we may not be able to get the price you want, and if that's the case, we'll be upfront and let you know. But one of those three things will happen, right? No big deal. No pressure, no obligation. One of three things is going to happen. So my advice would be to really internalize that and get to the point where it's almost like you just, you naturally just kind of go that way. Let's set up a time to meet. Mike will come out there and meet with you. And the best thing is one of three things will happen. Right? You'll either like what you hear, we won't be able to help you, or you don't like what you hear. But we'll know after spending 60 minutes or an hour or so with you. So one of three things. If they say yes, great, then we book the appointment. The way this is scripted is not how I do it. Like this is, if I went through the one of three things and went over all that and then said, fair enough, and then they go, yeah, that sounds good. And then I go, great, when would be a good time for them to come over? When they're out there, she can let you know what your home is worth at the same time, blah, blah, blah. Like that's overselling. He already agreed for the appointment, or she agreed for the appointment on that first one, right? So just the way this was written, I would disagree with that structure. This can be used as a second close, right? So if I needed to go to get the appointment again, let's say I said, one out of three things is going to happen when we come out there and meet with you, this, that, and the other. How does that sound? Well, I don't know, Jeff. I really got some concerns. The last agent couldn't get any traction. I don't know what you guys are going to do different. So you can come out, if you want, but I don't want to promise you I'm going to do anything. I need to circle back, right, to close for that appointment again. So then I could use something like that. What's next here? Great, no big deal. When's a good time we can come out there, right? While Mike is out there, he'll go over with you what he thinks the home would sell for. He'll also go over with you some inexpensive recommendations that you can do to get more money for the home. Also, he can save you a lot of time and effort by going over the things that you just don't have to do in today's market. And then also he'll go over fees and expenses with you. So if you did decide to list your home with us, you'll know exactly what you'd walk away with when the dust settles. So that'd be another way for me to transition to the close without being a robot saying the same thing over, right? Once I've said one of three things is going to happen, I can't just turn around and use it again, right? So that's how I would use this second one. It's a different way for me to get to the close. I could say, hey, Marco, no big deal. When we come out there, what'll happen is they'll go over what we think the home would sell for. They'll give you some important information on what you can do, more importantly, what you don't have to do these days to get top dollar for your home. And then they'll go over any fees and expenses that are involved. So if you did decide to sell your home, you know exactly what you're walking away with. How does that sound? Right? So it's a different way for me to get to the close. Closing for the appointment. There's some other information here that you can use if there's some resistance. Under where it says, if no, some of the easy ones to go to. Or let me ask you this, if I could get you the price that you had it listed at last, would that work for you? Right, a lot of times we have that information on the screen. In this Money Tree platform, you would have that information on the screen. Any other platform you're looking at has that information. So I can see you had it listed at $245,000. If I had somebody offered you $245,000 right now, would you accept that offer? Right, just to kind of see where they're at. When you had it on the market originally, where were you headed? Hopefully we already talked about that in the earlier part of the conversation. Before where it says if no, one good thing to establish some value is that statement here where it says, as you know, price is a function of supply and demand. So one of the things I do know is right now we have tens of thousands of buyers that are actively looking either online or in person to purchase the right home. And if we can gain more exposure to your property by having more buyers interested in it, that typically results in more offers, which results in a higher price paid. So can you see how just that one function alone, by driving more exposure to your property, could help you get more money when selling? Yeah, that makes sense. Great. So when's a good time that we can come out and meet with you? And while we're out there, we'll go over what the home will be worth, some things you can do, more importantly, you don't have to do in today's market, and we'll outline all the fees and expenses so you'll know exactly what you're walking away with when your home sells. Sound good? Right? And I just plugged in that little closing statement that we just went over. I could have also plugged in, great, when's a good time we can set up a time to meet? Just so you know, there's no pressure, no obligation. One of three things will happen when Paula comes out there, this, that, or the other. Right? So if I know those and I have those memorized, I can just plug them in. That's the easy way for me to transition to the close. Next one, for sale by owner script, right? This one, pretty straightforward. Hey, this is, well, a lot of times these don't have the name, right? It's a property address in a lot of cases, at least for us. So a lot of times we go into it saying, is this the owner of 123 Main Street? Yes, it is. Okay, great. The reason I was calling is I'm with Expert Advisor Services, Home Services. My agent, Paula, had asked me to give you a call and see if your home was still available. Yes, it is still available. Okay, great. I'm curious. If I was able to find a buyer who was willing to pay the price that you're asking, would you be willing to pay a 3% commission? Right? Whether they say yes or no, in the case where an ISA is making this call, it doesn't matter. Right? If they say 2%, 3%, the ISA's job isn't to talk about commission and argue that they legally can't anyhow. If you're the agent, you can go as far as you want to go on that discussion. Personally, like we were talking about, I wouldn't address it right here. It's too early in the conversation. Right? I'd want to go through and talk about the motivation for them to sell, all these other things, before I tried to have this talk about commission 45 seconds into the conversation. Right? They don't know who I am. We don't have any trust rapport built. It's not going to go anywhere to start arguing over that right then. If they say 0, I'm not willing to pay anybody anything, great, have a nice day, for the most part, right? Unless there's something there to give you reason to go further. But we know, what I would say is in most cases when somebody answers that way, it's for one of two reasons. Either they've had a bad experience with a real estate agent in the past, or they're really concerned about saving as much money as possible. Which of those is it for you? Right? Most people are trying to sell on their own for financial reasons, right? They think that means they get 6% more in their pocket. What they don't know is that means that they sell for 16% less. What they don't know is that means that they stay on the market longer. And what they don't know is that 90% of people find that out and end up listing with a realtor anyhow. Right? So for sale by owners, 90% of them will end up listing with a realtor at the end of the day. So if you do your job asking the right questions, get them in your nurture funnel, and then do a good job of staying in contact, you have a decent chance of converting these into listings. Mondays are the best day to call them, by the way. Right? Coming out of an open house with no results, no offers. This is 3 months into it. I'm done with this. Right? I'm fed up. Come on out here. I'll sign the paperwork right now. Sunday night. Right. So it sounds like, have you dealt with some for sale by owners, a lot of them? Yeah, so give me a tip. What do you find that works really well for you on for sale by owners, if you have something?
Just being real with them.
So give me an example of being real.
Provide them value. Hey, I'm here to help you. For example, I would give them a contact to a good photographer who's my photographer, so when they choose to actually sell it, I'll comp them back for the money that they paid for the photography. So just come
Awesome.
without a point of contribution.
Hey, then I would know too how I would tell my photographer, if they call you, call me and let me know.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then I can call them, hey, I heard you reached out to so-and-so about the photography. Get it. Oh, perfect. Perfect. No conflict of interest there, right? Your son's going to be pitching dad the whole way in there. By the way, click, click. My dad's really good. So I would just really, in my thing with these is I don't want to talk about buyers at all. This whole thing, that first intro of, if I had a buyer who's willing to pay your price, would you be willing to pay a commission? Right? That's as much as I really want to talk about buyers. I know then the script goes into, yeah, I would be willing to pay a commission. Great. The real estate market is really hot in your area right now. And I don't know if your home's criteria matches up specifically with the buyers that we're working with, but that's kind of why Paula asked me to give you a call. Could you tell me a little bit about your home? All right, and that's going to open up the conversation. But that is as much as I want to talk about buyers, period. Because already I run the risk of that person hearing I'm bringing a buyer. Right? And especially if it's an ISA who's making this call for you, right? Then they don't have the ear that you do as an agent. They can't go into the depths that you can as an agent. And so you don't want to be showing up out there and they go, I thought you were bringing a buyer. Right? So I would just be conscious of that. I only want to talk about the buyer to get to this engagement phase where I say, tell me a little bit about your home. So the way we bridge into that is I don't know if it matches the criteria for our buyers. That's the reason why Paul had asked me to give you a call. Would it be okay if our company included information about your home to our list of qualified buyers? Who isn't going to say yes to that, right? If you pose it correctly. Yeah, sure, show it to everybody. Great, tell me a little bit more about your home. Right? And by the way, if they say, why, do you have a buyer? If they really press that issue, which sometimes they will, right? Then you can just go back to we're working with a lot of buyers. I wouldn't know if your home is really a match for them without coming and seeing the property to better understand the features, the amenities, the condition, and all those kind of details, right? Once I've seen the home, then I could paint a better picture of it for any buyers that I might run into, right? But it wouldn't make sense, right? How would I know if it was a fit really without coming out there and having a chance to take a look at it? So that's where we kind of revert to if they really press the issue on the buyer. So then we get to the point, tell me a little bit more about your home. It's 3 bedroom, 2 bath, whatever the case is. That sounds great. Looks like you have a really nice home. What did you come up with as an asking price? Oh, $250,000. Okay, if you don't mind me asking, how did you come up with that price? That's not there, but that's the next thing I would ask right there. Attached to price, how'd they come up with that price? Right? Well, I talked with a few agents. That gives me a clue. Maybe there's some competition in the mix. Maybe they say that the neighbor's home just sold for that amount, so I think that that's what mine will sell for. I just want to know how they came up with that price. I used to be an agent for 20 years. I know the market real well, right? Whatever it is. Zillow. So if you don't mind me asking, why have you decided to sell? Now we're going to talk about the motivation, right? The higher their motivation is, the more apt that they're going to be to work with an agent. If they have no real motivation, they're liable to they'll just keep trying to sell it on their own for 6 months if that's what it takes, right? Unless they have really solid motivation. The make me move stuff on Zillow, right? I mean, how overpriced are those in a lot of cases? Obviously, this person is not really motivated to move, right? So, I mean, that's where identifying the motivation is going to determine on how good of a prospect they probably are for you. Right? If he has a timeline attached to it, if he needs to be moved to Houston by September for a job, then, man, come August 1st, if you haven't gotten nowhere, I know that you're really motivated at that point, and you're probably going to move to go with an agent at that level. If there's no real motivation, then you're probably liable to just keep trying to sell it on your own forever. Do you have a time frame in mind as far as when you'd like to be moved? Right? So what are we trying to do here? We're reverting back to the 5 criteria of a nurture. Right? Why have you decided to sell? What am I trying to determine? Their motivation. Right? Have you thought about what time frame you'd like to be settled in by? Trying to identify their time frame. Have they had any offers on the home? Have you had any offers on it yet? Right? Is there a point at which you might consider interviewing agents to sell the property? Right? And usually, if you have somebody who's got some decent motivation, it'll be like, well, I'm going to give it 30 days or maybe 45 days. If I haven't gotten any traction or response by then, I'll probably start interviewing agents. And wrapping up, we want to go, so earlier you mentioned that you were asking $250,000 for your home. If we had a cash buyer that was looking to close in a time frame that would work for you, what is your absolute bottom dollar price? Right, well, 220 I'd probably take. Right, so doing the math, what did he just do? Right, he lowered the price more than the 6% commission he's worried about paying. Right? So that's really important, and in my mind, that's what I'm trying to get to on these for sale by owners. At the end of the day, I want to know, number one, why are you trying to sell it on your own? Most people, it's because they've had a bad experience with an agent or they're trying to save as much money as possible. Right? What are you wanting to walk away with at the end of the day? Because if they're wanting to walk away with 220, does it really matter how you get there? Right? If I can get you 220 even after our fees and expenses, then would that work for you? And I could take everything off your plate. Your weekends aren't lost because you have to have them blocked out for showings. You don't have to worry about being bit in the butt with liabilities because you're not an expert on contracts. You don't have to worry about building out a budget to attract buyers for the property. If I could take all of that off of the table for you and get you the amount of money you're wanting to walk away with after any fees and expenses, would that work for you? That's really, I want to get to the point where I can ask that question, right? And I want to do the math in my head. If they said they want $300,000, what would your rock bottom dollar be? Well, if it's anything less than the 6%, I know I've got room in there if I can articulate my value well enough, right? And so that's the last thing that's on that script. If I could show you a way that I could net you more money by working with us on the transaction or get the amount of money you want by working with us, would you be open to working with me when the time comes that you're interested in interviewing agents to sell the property? So the key there again for me is finding out that value, seeing if that works with the 6% commission that we would normally have on a deal, and then try to get into it that way. Does that make sense? Also, like you said, Wojo is the value, right? Like almost like help them sell it on their own, right? Help them sell it on their own. I think I can help you sell it on your own, right? Let me come over and bring this disclosure sheet. You want to make sure you don't get bit in the butt on liabilities. I don't know if you've heard some of the horror stories, but man, you can really get caught off guard if you don't make sure your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. I'll walk through that with you. Hey, by the way, I do some advertising on Facebook also. Why don't you send me the pics that you took, and I'll send it out in my following on Facebook, right? I'll help you sell it, right? In theory.
You know what the statistics say?
What's that?
90% of those homes won't sell by all.
Right, right. And the statistics really are like that they get 16% less money. I think it's like 12 days longer on the market or something like that. Yeah. So there is a difference. And I mean, also, you know, how long are you willing to give it?
In your house, I mean, that's
Having strangers in your house. How do you plan to qualify? Who's coming into your house?
exactly,
Right?
that's enough to make.
So some of those things, they just don't know what they don't know either. And we're advisors, not salespeople, right? So if we do our job advising them really on what they don't know, because they don't eat, sleep, and breathe real estate, right? Then we can educate them. We're building trust and credibility throughout that time and that process, and hopefully be there if they do decide to work with an agent. The home value script is the last one that we'll really go over. Who here has home values that are turned on through NAEA? Does anybody have home values? Okay, you got them. Cool. Have you guys made any calls into those? I don't know how long they've been turned on for you. Okay. So those are good leads that originate from a Facebook ad, right? Curious as to what your home might be worth. They put in their address, takes them to a landing page with some general information with a form request and a call to action to fill out the info. It becomes a lead, right? So this is somebody who raised their hand at least to say, hey, I'm curious about what my home might be worth. So it's generally a higher quality lead. I'd be calling 100 of these leads before I'm calling 100 of the circle prospecting, right? And I'd be calling 100 of the just pended, just sold before I'd be calling the 100 of circle prospecting, right? So it's important to prioritize your data too. So just on a side note. So the home value, hey, this is Jeff at Expert Advisor Home Services. The reason I was calling is you'd recently inquired online about the home evaluation for the property at 123 Main Street. Are you interested in a broad range for your home's value or a more specific price as to what the home might sell for in today's market? I was just looking for a broad range, right? The reason I asked that question, and it's really hard to give a broad range, it can span a pretty wide range. Like I reword that because they originally intended to have dollars here, and I mean, you can't do that, right? Every area is going to be different and so on. So I just usually say that prices can really span a pretty wide range. If I could take a quick peek at the home, I'd have a better understanding of your home's amenities, features, conditions, overall size, all that kind of stuff. And then that would allow me to give you a much more accurate idea of what the market value would be and how you might be able to get more money even, right? When's a good time we could come out there and meet with you? Or if they say, I'm looking for a specific price. Okay, great. If we could take a quick peek at the home, we could give you a more accurate evaluation of to where the market value is. And we could also share with you our proven repeatable system that helps homeowners get as much as 18% more money for their home than what other agents would typically do. What's a good day for you? Real simple, right? If they say no, we can try to target really their financial motivation by asking if they were to sell, is getting the most amount of money important to them? Yes, it would be. Well, it just so happens, right, that we have a proven repeatable system that's backed by market research and helps homeowners just like you get more money than what a traditional real estate agent might do. Right? While we're out there, we can also go over some things you can do and also, most importantly, what you don't have to do in today's market to get the most amount of money for your home. And we'll also make sure you understand all the fees and expenses so that if you did decide to sell your home, you'd know exactly what you're walking away with. If we were to come out this week, what day would work better for you, Thursday or Friday? Right? And that was just a plug-in from that other close that we talked about earlier. Right? So once you know a few of those closes, you can use them everywhere. On a lot of these, they're really early in the stages. Like these are, I think our conversion metrics on these were like, I think 6 to 7 months. Right? So when somebody fills out the form, they actually end up taking action like 6 to 7 months after that. In some cases, they're a lot quicker. But in general, these can a lot of times tend to be just people in the very early stages. So they make for great nurtures, right? You provide them good, relevant content the whole way through, and you've got a really solid opportunity to get the lead. Also, you'll have the one-offs that, man, I'm looking to sell right now. Right? So you'll get those right now appointments off of home value leads also. But really easy. They inquired online. They raised their hand, so we shouldn't be apprehensive about calling them. We shouldn't be scared about anything, right? These people raised their hand. They said, call me. I'm interested in what my home's value would be. So we're going to call them. You recently inquired online about the home value for your house. Were you looking for a broad range or something more specific? Oh, a broad range? Well, it's really hard because it can span a pretty wide array of numbers in your area. If we could come by and take a peek at the home, that would allow me to get a better idea of what it looks like, the size, the features, the things that would be important to a potential buyer, right? And then I could give you a much more accurate idea, I think, on what it would sell for. If you're looking for a specific range, great. When's a good time that we could come by, take a quick peek at the home while we're there? Boom, 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 boom. We'll go over all these things, and we'll go over the fees and expenses, so if you decide to sell it, you'll know exactly what you're walking away with, what day would be good for you. Any questions on that? I know we rolled through the scripts quickly today, but we're going to be on time too, so the positive thing is that. At the ISA boot camp, like we spend all day going through these scripts one by one, role-playing them, like each one 15 minutes. So that's a long day. I thought we were going to do that here like tomorrow or something. So when I found out we're just going to burn through them today really quickly, I was kind of happy about that too. But they are really important to use. If you have somebody who's in your office calling, you've got to quiz them. You've got to put in a process to make sure they're getting trained correctly and that they know their stuff. Right? If you have us calling for you, don't worry about it.
So I have a question on these scripts. They're in PDF on NAEA. Is there any way that you know of to convert it into a Word format so you can tweak it into your own?
I can email you. I have all of these in a Google Drive, in a Google Doc format. You can get in there and type it up and change whatever you need.
What's your email?
It's Jeff, Jeff, dot Quiane, is Q-U-I-A-N-E, Q-U-I-A-N-E, at expertadvisor.com. Anybody who, go ahead.
Most of the stuff that I've found in PDF, you're able to still copy and paste.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
The formatting will sometimes screw up on the formatting. I know what you mean. Sometimes it will. But just send me an email and I'll share that whole drive with you. So anybody who wants like the doc versions so that you can edit and stuff, send me an email. If you don't have my email right now, just get with me before you get out of here on Thursday. And I've got this folder that has a whole bunch of those resources in it. There's some custom tips and scripts and like bullet statements and value statements that I've just made up that are in there. There's a bunch of call recordings in there. It's good stuff. A lot of it might be crossover for what's on Kajabi, but I think there's some other stuff too that's not on Kajabi.
Thank you.
Cool. So Daniel, we're good to go? Yeah. All right. So we'll handle objections and seller's counseling interview tomorrow.